Welcome back, guys, to 52 Drinks in 52 Weeks. We're already down 3 weeks. This is the fourth one, and this time we are doing a very special beverage, tequila. Gagan, all yours.
Right. So, guys, tequila has been in has been in production for a very long time, starting the 200 AD. But it formalized as a drink in the mid 1500s when the Spanish conquistadors came to Mexico and they couldn't just do with their own brandy. They started distilling something which was locally grown, which was the agave plant. But after a long journey of nearly 400 years, in the mid of 1930s is when tequila actually formalized as a Mexican heritage, and since then the drink has only and only seen an upward progression.
So yes, a lot of people drink tequila, but do not do it the wrong way, which is salt, lemon, and shooting, because that's not how you're supposed to drink tequila. It's not how it's enjoyed. So we have 4 different ones here. We will taste them, not shoot them, and I'll start off with the first one. But just quickly, why is it called tequila?
So a quick anecdote, tequila is actually in the local language refers to volcanic soil, which is actually the soil of the regions in which tequila is made. However, in the local language, it means the volcanic soil or the rock that cuts the soil. In this case, referring to the volcano under whose shadow is the town of Tequila. Hence the name like that.
So there are 4 regions, and tequila is a regional thing, so you can only grow it in those regions and call it tequila. Otherwise, you might call it mezcal or some aguardiente. There are various other versions, but it has to be in those regions to be called tequila. We are starting off with one that is not a 100% agave, I think, right?
Right.
So this will be a mixto.
This should ideally be a mixto. So
Right.
to make a tequila, you have to make it with a style of agave called the Weber Blue Agave. Weber basically was the name of the European botanist. And it was the Jose Cuervo house that actually found that blue agave was the best agave out of the 166 varieties available for making the purest and the best tequila. But anyway, quite unusual to be smelling a tequila like this.
So yeah, for me, guys, I always think of tequila or a lot of these agave spirits as a white malt, because you can have spirits that may not be aged in oak or don't have enough of the influence of oak, but can still have a lot of complexity and a lot of richness. So you can have gin and tonics, you can definitely move on to tequila tonics, but even before that, you can sip this on ice.
Yeah.
But even without ice, what are your tasting notes, Gagan?
I think it is a delight to smell because it's a very unusual white spirit as against the vodkas and the white rums and gins. It is very smooth, and this is a tequila that actually is not really aged, even if it does only for a few weeks, that too in neutral oak. It gives you a very vegetative, sappy sort of a flavor, but it's not overpowering. So there's a good amount of spice, a little bit of sweetness to it as well.
Fresh spice, pines, resins, definitely the vegetal side, but in a nice, fresh, green, verdant way, not like something that's mulchy or rotten.
Yeah.
Also a bit earthy somewhere, almost like as if it was, it's earth being used to filter this maybe. But it's definitely complex. It's nowhere close to simple, and the flavors are all, they grow on you and you leave it there. There's a nice long retrofaction. You can feel the flavors, and it's still smooth. We're having it room temperature without ice, and I think it's still
You
fairly
can sip
sippable.
like that. Yes. Yeah.
Leave it to you. Shall we move on to the next one?
Yes.
So you want to talk about it? I'll pour it to you. What do you pour?
Yeah.
So just so you know, we're not tasting a house for any particular reason, but just that they happen to be friends who Gagan studied with, and they now make tequila. So we just pulled the bottles out, Gagan's gift, and now we sort of thought a way of thanking them would be to taste their tequilas and talk about it.
Right. So this is a 100% agave. So this is a true tequila by definition. And this is a reposado, which basically
So this is also called tequila. Sorry, just to confirm, right? This is also called tequila.
Yes, this is also called tequila.
So it's 51% must be minimum of blue agave and that makes, and this is 100% blue
This is
agave.
100% agave.
But also it's got color in it. So that
Yeah.
means
So
it's,
this is reposado, which basically means rested, and this would be somewhere around a maximum
barrel
of
aging.
2 months. Something as small as 200-liter barrels to up to as big as 20,000-liter barrels.
So you can see the color, guys. It's just a hint of a pale gold sort of coming on. And can you find the oak on the nose, Gagan?
I think I can, and there's a little bit of smokiness as well, which could have
Sweet
come
smoke,
from the
like a
baking
baking-
process,
Like
in
hickory wood smoke or...
in the autoclaves, or it could just be from the oak barrels itself. They use, ideally, just because America is nearby, they use a lot of bourbon cask or American oak cask. But of course, you can never tell unless you have done your fact checks if the producer went a little experimentative and had a few other barrels of some other, some other origin.
So I think that the freshness sort of gets a bit subdued here. The earthiness is a lot more pronounced, and along that comes a lot more spice. So instead of the fresh spice, it's a little more dry spice, a little more on the paprika side. Not hot, there's no heat, but there's definitely that power, the vigor that you can feel behind it.
Yeah.
So you lose the freshness, but you gain on the complexity and the earthiness. Moving on from there, we're going to a different range of tequilas, I presume, because the bottles look much fancier. We're still with the same brand, but this is again 100% agave, and this is the platinum, right? The platinum.
Yeah, the platinum.
Right. So, am I supposed to twist it?
Just pull it.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
So, guys, even if you end up shooting the other one or using it in cocktails, this stuff here is definitely for sipping and for savoring. It's also 38% alcohol, so it's not as heady as you might think it is.
And while we just come back to tasting, tequila is a complex drink. We always think of it as just a ingredient in one of your boozy cocktails or your icy cocktails. But much like grain, there's a variety of agave, from very young ones to older ones, grown in very volcanic soils, to lesser ones, highland, lowland. The water used in the process, the length of the baking process, all of that in totality makes it a complex procedure by itself. So this is a much finer version. Not to say that these were not, but definitely we are moving
a lot smoother, a lot easier. If there was any burn that one would have felt from the previous one, that is completely subdued here. It really flows in the palate. The spices again, they're there, but they're present in the back. They sort of support the whole structure. I think smoothness, the silky texture of this tequila is what really sets it apart. I'm sure price-wise this will be more expensive than those two there, but then the usage would also be different.
And I find a lot of citrus in this one as compared to this one, and rather
that's
the
right.
first
I think with a nice tectonic and a nice ratio of 1:1 to 1:2, this would really show well.
Yeah.
But
yet again, you might not think of sipping a white rum, sipping a gin by itself or a vodka by itself, but this is something almost like a summary proposition that you can just have on the rocks. And ideally, this is how I would want to drink that one.
And this one also says Reposado on the label. Again, 100% agave. So we're going from one level of Blanco and Reposado to another level.
Cute.
And I think in terms of alcohol, we're still at 38%, guys. But you can see the color has a nice golden hue to it, bit more pronounced than the previous one. So as Gagan said, the mix of oak barrels could be different, could be done differently, and let's see how it tastes.
For me, it opens up with that very subtle oak on the nose. Of course, retaining that the identity of what an agave might taste. Just picking that from the first 3 samples that we've tasted. There's a linearity of flavor, probably from the process, probably from the regional influences, or just the raw material in that sense. But I can find more subtle oak in it, but more complexity in terms of how subdued the aromas are and how many they are.
Yeah. So if you're a cognac lover or you like Armagnac, I think this particular one here, this style is really along those lines, because oak is the first thing that greets you on the nose, but it's not a heavy, daunting oak. It's more like the outer casing of a cigar mixed with some green freshness out there.
Yeah.
So it's got it's lifted. It's got lifted aromas, and yet at the same time, it's got some really grounded earthiness to it. Very complex for sure. Savory now. So unlike the ripeness I found here, there's a more savory character here. So all in all, 4 tequilas from the same house and still so different.
Yeah. At the back of this one, I could also, sense a little bit of cocoa, a little bit of dark chocolate sort of character, especially in this one. And there's a little bit of smokiness, yet again, from the craft process or just from the barrel.
Yeah, the chocolatiness is definitely there. I can see why they would marry this with a nice dark chocolate mix, maybe. Cool.
And one thing overall, very clean. There's no dryness on the palate. There's no heat generation from dehydration.
Yeah.
Very smooth.
Yeah, also we've been spitting, otherwise there would be some heat generation inside us. But anyways, all said and done, guys, that's number 4, I think, on the 52 drinks, guys. Okay, well, this was an easy one to wrap up. Gagan, please thank your friends for this lovely gift. These brands are not in India. So in case you're an import and you want to get them in, please speak to Gagan. He'll connect you with them. We gain nothing out of this. This is not a sponsored video.
Yeah, it was just solidarity for the family, which is on the other side of the globe.
It's a family-owned production, but it was tequila, small house, and Thank you, Mexico, for this, and thank you, Gagan, for sharing this.
Cheers.